Hey everyone, I wanted to go over some details before we get into this video. This video is a little different than what we would normally post. This was one of those personal check-ins that we do that most people don't get the opportunity to see. This is similar to the work we did for over a year before we ended up going public with the channeling. So in this video, you will see that there is a bit of a struggle for the channeling to hold. In the beginning of this session, I'm only posting the back end of this session, this video that you're about to see. This video, prior, when we were checking in and doing our own work and doing our own check-ins, there was a lot of density, a lot of difficulty of stuff that we were wading through, and so we were already having difficulty holding the channel, but we have learned to work through it and really trust the process, even when it's not what we would like it to be, even when it's not perfect, even when it's, we're having a hard time ourselves. This has been a long process and journey, and trust of self, and being vulnerable, all the things that it's really hard to show everyone else. So in this part of the video that you're going to see holds some really amazing information. But one of the aspects that I want you to notice, or that I'm hoping that people will begin to realize, is that with being a conscious channel like Kaylah is, there is still the conscious mind present. It usually takes a back seat, similar to those who've experienced past life regression, hypnosis, and things like that. It's almost like a different state of being. And because she's a conscious channeler, sometimes in times like this, when we're working through a lot of personal stuff, doing work that others may not see, the conscious mind is still sometimes really hard to allow it to take a step back and get out of the way. This is one of those times. So you're going to notice at some point you hear Kaylah come through, she's pushing through, and you hear her say, "I don't know," to a question that I ask. And the funny thing is, then they come through when she kind of gets out of the way, and they come through with all the information that they then offer. So I think hopefully it goes to show you how this channel being so different than maybe other channelers that you've come across or other ones that you've heard about, where you see that her process of still being conscious but allowing that connection to flow through her without her having to be completely out of the way is a trust thing. They knew that her being completely out of the way would be way too difficult, because it's it's those who get completely out of the way, the channels and the channelers, who disappear completely and then just come back into their body after the fact, is really scary for a lot of people. And this process of channeling for Kaylah needed to be a trust, a balance, a duality of she's still present, but she's out of the way, but she's still aware of what's going on in some capacity, and maybe that's something she can explain later as we go more in depth into these channels. But I just wanted to preface this video by saying that this was one that we hadn't planned to post because it is more difficult. We did have difficulties in this one. There are a lot of aspects to this that you may notice are a little different than some of the other ones we've posted, but this is still part of our journey, and this is kind of what it looks like in the background when you're not seeing us in group channelings, or you're not seeing the pretty polished videos that the session went perfectly. So I hope you still really enjoy. This video has a lot of fascinating information about different brainwaves and states of being, ones of which Kaylah had no idea. And I know she didn't have information or knowledge on these topics. This is more my realm, but it just makes it even more fascinating to see that she clearly had no idea about the information that's coming through, and when she gets out of the way, it's just such an amazing collaboration of information and connection that flows. So we really hope you enjoy. We wanted to ask, how do you notice the difference between dreams, ones that are just conscious or subconscious processing, or ones that have deeper meaning, dreams from the higher self or guides or messages in general? What states of dreams do these come in? How do we know the differences?
There are many of you that have dreams that feel very real. Just feeling like you are living real life and you are able to remember the things that you are being shown. This is due to a heightening of energy within the dream space, whether that be by your guides or your higher self, or an entity coming in to work with you. It is important to pay attention to these types of dreams as the ones that have meaning. However, there are many dreams in which you are processing your daily reality. However, those do too have meaning.
So for example, there are many people who have smartwatches or rings now that they can see what states of sleep they are in throughout the night. Say they have a dream that is very charged, very easy to remember because it feels like a message. Do these typically come in at a certain type of dream state, like REM sleep or light sleep? When do these types of messages typically come in? Or does it differ for different people?
So I'm seeing like different waves. So I'm hearing the word like theta wave. So when you're maybe in that state is when you are more easily accessible to passing on information. Like I just keep seeing these waves and I keep hearing theta wave, theta wave.
Isn't that similar to what we use in hypnosis, the similar brainwave in a deep hypnotic state?
Yes.
But this is recreated in dream state as well?
Yes, if one can reach this state within their dream space, which some are helped by the guides that are trying to reach them. This is why within hypnosis you see entities and spirits coming into your awareness within these meditative experiences. You are more open to the frequency in which they are on, and thus the connection becomes easier to match and the message becomes easier to transmit within this state.
So the conscious mind, when it's processing day-to-day stuff and we have our typical dreams, what state does that usually come in at? Is it different than the theta state?
Yeah. Whatever the D one is.
Delta?
Yeah.
And what is the difference? Why do they require different states, brainwaves?
The delta brain waves are easier to process the emotional states in which you have come from and where you are going. The theta brain waves are a higher frequency in which your soul is matching the energy of the being that is trying to contact you or send you a message, such as a loved one. It is we will say, higher state of consciousness that one can reach within the dream state. It makes it easier to have more spiritual experiences within this state of being, we will say.
So then how do we, since I know we can reach this in hypnosis, which is not in sleep state, how do we recreate a theta brainwave in waking state? Or is it possible to do that in just general meditations? Or how do we begin to develop the ability to do that more?
Yes, this is accessible within your waking state if you so wish. Some people, okay, so they're showing me an image of like different people, and it's almost like a meter is kind of like the image that they're showing me. And it's almost as like people are more attuned to, like their energy is more attuned to accessing those points more easily. It's not impossible for people with like a lower meter to reach that. It's more accessible for them in a dream state. However, the ones with the higher meters are more expansive energy centers. I don't know if they're like more transcended or more like open, but in meditation, it seems as though those people are easily more able to access, like meet in the middle where it needs to happen, versus the people with like a lower meter, if that makes sense.
So what makes the difference between people? How do you know which end of that spectrum you're on? One who has an easier time reaching it or one who does not?
It is important to understand the barriers in which an individual has within meditation and connecting in with oneself. And that will help you to see where somebody falls in terms of being able to connect with that state. Those who have many, we will say paranormal or spiritual experiences, usually have a easier ability to connect in with these theta brainwave states within meditation. As long as they are able to let go and we will say meet in the middle. However, we will say these low-metered individuals it is not impossible for them to reach a theta brainwave state within meditation. With much focus and attention, one can be able to find these states.
Well, for example, I'm one of those people who was completely shut down to those things after childhood. So I had none of those experiences, but now I'm much more able to. So I know it has to be possible to shift to that place where it's easier to access. And that's why I was wondering, are there certain things that someone can do? I know my journey has been very different, but things are much more accessible now than they used to be.
It's important to understand that for some individuals, they are not meant to reach this state because this is not something that their soul has come in to learn at this point in time. And these are some of the low-metered individuals, we will say. However, from your own experience, which is a good example, you will see that working through many of your own barriers has helped you to open and be able to connect in different ways. Once unable to do hypnosis or see things, and now you can. And this is by working through your own barriers. This comes from a conscious want to work through your barriers and to connect into something higher than yourself.
So it's just one step at a time, working through different things that allow you to then start to access higher brainwave, or I don't want to say higher because that may not be accurate, but different brainwave states.
Correct. One thing that we will point out about connecting in and having these experiences is there are many who are frustrated by this experience. However, there are many who are afraid of accessing this experience and thus they're not able to connect in. And they do not necessarily consciously know that they are afraid of connecting this in, which is why they have a hard time. They want it, and yet subconsciously they deeply fear it. And so reflecting on your intention and your goal for reaching these states is important, and what you are trying to achieve by doing that. It is important to have patience, as you will understand on your journey. It takes quite a while. However, we are in an accelerated period of time where people are reaching these states quite easily and frequently. And this is because this is what their soul has come in to do. This is a part of their journey. But for those who have the barriers in place and are not able to reach these types of states where they can envision or they can feel or they can connect in with certain beings, it takes time and patience. And we know that you do not like to hear this, understandably so. But you will understand on the back end when you are able to do that why you had to go through the things that you did. And so we will give you this. Something that might be beneficial and to work on is beginning to ask for signs. All of you have guides and ancestors and people who work with you, who guide you. And if you are looking to open up to those types of beings and those types of experiences and you are not yet having those, asking for signs from your guide teams can be important in establishing a connection and beginning to clear the path forward if that is what you so wish. And these signs, do not overcomplicate it. It can be whatever you choose it to be. And if you are not receiving those signs, it is important not to fret or worry that you are doing it wrong or that you have no guide team and they are not contacting you at all and they don't care about you. That is not quite true. There are many things that can go awry when you are asking for signs, such as this subconscious fear that we are talking about. And so, in a way, can you find a way to get out of your own way?
Speaking of signs, the numbers, numerology, is usually where people start. 111, 1111, 1010, 444. All of these numbers start popping up for people, and then we go, what do they mean? And we have, yes, angel numbers and stuff, but really, I think no one really truly knows what to do with them. What do they mean?
Many times when you are seeing angel numbers, you are in alignment with the path that you are on, and they are quite messages about the things that you are thinking about and the things that you are doing in the moment. Many times sent by your guide team or your ancestors that are on the other side trying to assist you. And what you will find when you try to look these up is each time you may get a different description. Very, very confusing when you get a different description. And this comes hand in hand with discernment and learning your own language and trusting what you are getting.